Hello everyone, today we are discussing builds for new players on a Division 2. Recently in streams I've seen a lot of new faces and they've been new to the game as well, and there's been a few requests for this video. They asked, can I make a video for builds for new players? So here it is. Now what we're going to be going over today is just a couple of builds that I advise for players that have just completed the game, hit level 40 and have reached endgame. Once you get to that point, what do? Well, you should probably farm for some builds, and these are the builds I recommend that you farm for because they're going to help you complete most content in the game. And if you're in our community, we help with all sorts like legendary missions, legendary content, raid content, and I'm going to include some builds that you can farm for to have yourself ready for that as well. If you jump in with one of our teams, they like you to have these builds to be a great kind of like stepping stone. I'm not gonna cover like all builds that you need in this game to complete all the content and teams, well, like all our raid builds, all our legendary builds. I'm not gonna do that. This is just for the player that's just reached end game and it's just like, what do I grind for now? So I hope this video does help you. That's what it's aimed for. As I just mentioned, please do hit like and share to support the video. Subscribe if you're new here today for more content from myself. And as I mentioned, our community helps with a lot of content. Make sure you come and check us out if you haven't already. It's nearly at 26,000 members. When you finish today, the link is at the top of the video description and we'll see you in there. So the first build that I want to show you is this one. It's kind of like an all-round build. I think it's a fantastic build to farm for, and a lot of players like the skill build. I'm not a skill build fan, so I made this kind of like skill DPS hybrid, and I fell in love with it after creating it. I did it before season 9 and I've kept this since. It's never getting deleted. What I like about this for myself, it's great just to run kind of like open world activities on heroic with directives. It's great for just solo heroic content. It's not going to do solo legendary, so it's not that good, but it will do legendary content if you're with a good enough team. This will count as like the DPS or skill position in that team on legendary content. It's super good and I highly recommend it. So when you do get to level 40 to make this build, what you're going to need to do is first get the technician specialization, so I advise that you work on that. What the specialization is going to give the build is a skill tier and some skill damage, so work on getting that. And then you're going to want to farm for the capacitor. Now this is a super easy exotic to farm for, because all you got to do is go into the summit and complete 5 summit challenges. Once you've done that, you're awarded with a capacitor. And what this does for a build like this today, it's a skill DPS hybrid. It's going to be increasing your skill damage as you're shooting it up to a cap of 40. So you increase your skill damage with it, but also you get 7.5% weapon damage for every skill tier on the build. And we have quite a few skill tiers on the build, so it buffs your weapon damage as well. The secondary that you want to farm for this build is a classic M1A. I've got rifle damage, crit damage, and damage to target out of cover on mine, which I think are the best attributes to have. They're terribly rolled though, they need optimizing, but the talent you want is in sync. Basically, as you're shooting with your weapon and you're hitting enemies with your skills, you're buffing skill damage and weapon damage, so it's super good on the build. The sidearm, what you want is the card custom. This can be a tough farm, especially for a new player. You can get this out of named item caches, but if you don't get them out of that, it's kind of like a DZ only drop, so you want to keep an eye on DZ vendors every week to see if they sell it, or the countdown vendor, because that can sell it as well. When they're selling it, that'll be the easiest way to get it outside of named item caches. Or if ever sidearms go onto a DZ area, you can farm the DZ for it. It can also drop randomly in a DZ anyway, but I don't think that's going to be what a lot of people are going to want to do. So just keep an eye out on vendor resets and keep on getting named item caches. You'll get it eventually. What the card custom does is give you another skill tier when you got it equipped. You can see on this build I got 4 skill tiers on the gear pieces. Technician's giving me the 5th skill tier, and if I do switch to the TDI card custom, I get that 6th skill tier for my skills. I never actually do this. It's not that important at all, but that's why it's there. Now the gear pieces look like this. It's a Wyvern wear mask, and I have crit chance, crit damage on it with a crit damage mod, and I've rolled weapon damage on the Wyvern pieces, giving me 10% skill damage. Grupo chest piece with weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, crit hit damage mod. I got glass cannon. Now as a new player, glass cannon, you might be thinking that it's not for you, because it gives you 25% weapon damage amplified. Sorry, gives you 25% amplified damage, not just weapon damage, because it counts for your skills as well. So you're buffing your weapon and your skills, but you take an extra 50% damage. With this build, don't be worried about that. You're going to be using your skills all the time. These skills distract the enemies, and more often than not, they're going to shoot at your skills over you. So it works out very well. Your skills do a lot more damage, and you'll do a lot more damage. Grupo is also giving you 15% critical hit damage as well. The waveform holster is what I've gone for on this build. Skill tier, skill damage, skill haste, piece, you get the alternating current talent. Basically buffs one of your skills all the time for extra skill damage. Now, to get this exotic holster, you are going to have to farm targeted loot holsters and hope that it drops, or you can get it out of exotic caches as well. Now, the rest of the build is just 3-piece Empress International. Not too hard to farm for. The backpack will be the toughest farm. You want to have crit hit damage, crit hit chance, and combined arms on it. Crit hit damage mod as well. So you're going to need 2 out of 3 rolls there. You'll either need to have crit chance, crit damage, or combined arms. You can roll the other one because you do keep the skill tier on it. It'll be the toughest farm there. And then the gloves, you just want crit hit chance, crit hit damage with the skill tier. And the knee pads, crit hit chance, crit hit damage with a skill tier. And for 3-piece Empress International, it's give you skill health, skill damage, and skill efficiency. And that's the build. You run a turret and a drone, and as I've mentioned, this is a very, very good build for solo heroic content. You can run raids with this if you're with a good team. You can run legendaries with this if you're with a good team. I've tested it on everything. It's great for countdown, great for summit. It really is an all-round build, but what I mainly use it for, because there are better builds than this for all that content, what I mainly use it for is open world activities in a group of directives on. It's just so good. The skills are doing a lot of damage. I'm able to use my weapons to do quite a bit of damage as well. The stats here, you can see I'm on 44.9% crit chance with 181.1 crit damage, and it just puts out a lot of skill damage as well. Top build, I highly recommend it. Now, as I said in the intro to the video, we help with raids in our community, and there's always this sort of like raid build we want you to have if you jump in with us, which will be beneficial to you and us and make it much easier. And this is it. So once you have got to endgame, if you're looking to do raid content with our community, or just be ready for that if ever you get a chance to jump in with a team, this build's perfect. It's not just good for raid content, it's great for any sort of content really. Again, you could do legendary content with this build in a good team. You could do heroic content solo maybe even with this build. It's an all-round sort of build. Again, it's just a good build to have. So I'm going to take you through this. You'll certainly be raid ready with this build for our community teams. You want to jump in with us. You want the grenade launcher specialization. You don't need to unlock this, you'll already have it, so just make sure you get all the points spec'd out and everything spec'd into. Go with any assault rifle that you want. I've gone with the ACR because I like it, but people highly recommend the FAMAS. You want assault rifle damage, health damage, and damage target out of cover as the rolls. And strained is a great talent on an AR. You gain 10% crit damage for every 0.5 seconds you are firing. The secondary, you want to go with a classic M1A again, or a baker's dozen. I've got the one here again with rifle damage, crit damage, damage target out of cover, and boomerang. It's probably the best combination on a rifle for you on console. If you're on PC, maybe Rifleman is the talent, or as I said, the Baker's Dozen is basically an M1A with perfect lucky shot, which works as well. The regulars, completely ignore this if you're a new player, because you got to get this out of one of the raids. Just go with any sidearm that you want. TDI card custom again is a top pick, and the build looks like this. Farm a Coyote's Mask. This is going to buff your team. It's also going to buff you. It comes with weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage. Put a crit hit damage mod on that. You just get the Pack Instincts talent. So when you're hitting targets between 0 to 15 meters, you and your team are getting 25% critical hit damage. 15 to 25 meters, you and your team again 10% crit damage and 10% crit chance. 25 meters plus, you're giving you and your team 25% crit chance. Super overpowered mask, and you've got to have it. Throw it on the build. A raid team will love you for wearing this. And then the chest piece, you want a chest piece with Unbreakable on. I've got a Feminist one here to buff my assault rifle damage by 10%. Weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage mod, and the talent Unbreakable. So when my armor is depleted, it repairs 95% of my armor, and that can happen every 60 seconds. I got Walker Harris holster there. I got 2 pieces of Walker Harris on the build. Doesn't have to be Walker Harris. You can go with like Grupo and Cheska. I actually use this a bit in the DZ, and this was just a better combination as well. So it does, you know, like I say, you can go Providence. You can go, because I think 2-piece Providence is headshot damage and crit damage. 3-piece Providence crit chance. Grupo gives you 15% crit damage. Cheska gives you 10% chance, so mix it with them if you want, but for this build, and this will work as well, the numbers are just marginal. The Walker 1 piece gives you 5% weapon damage, 2 piece 5% damage to armor, and you want weapon damage, crit chance, and again on the backpack there, weapon damage, crit chance with a crit damage mod. Talent on the backpack is Vigilance, increases your total weapon damage by 25%, taking damage disables the buff for 4 seconds. I've got the Contractor's Gloves with weapon damage, it has damage to armor and crit damage, and the Fox's Prayer Knees, weapon damage, damage target out of cover, and crit damage. So the Petrov gloves, LMG damage we're not using, but damage to armor is very, very, very strong, kind of like best in slot. And knee pad said Fox's Prayer gives rifle damage. Now these are named items, but you can get them in targeted loot, so targeted loot gloves or Petrov, or targeted loot knees or Overlord. They also go on sale at vendors quite often, so keep an eye out on them. Skills, I've got the decoy and pulse because, as I said, I normally use this in the DZ, but throw a reviver hive on, and normally like an assault turret or something like that. Any skills that you want really. And the stats on this build look like this. I got 49% crit chance and 149.7% crit damage. And the final build I want to show you is a Hunter's Fury build. A lot of people rave about this build. When you do get to Endgame, you get all your weekly activities from the season. This is great for the league activities, for your speedruns. You're going to be able to complete all of them and get all of your rewards with it. So that's why I'm recommending this build. It's just super fun to use. Now, I wouldn't say it'd be great for like solo heroic play. It wouldn't be the best build to use, but for the speedrun content, it's very, very good. For group play, it's very, very good. I wouldn't really say it was a legendary build either, but definitely a build you want to put together. The first thing you want is the gunner specialization. You will need to unlock this, so make sure you do that. That gives you rate of fire, a bit of armor on kill, and some other good perks. The Lady Death is what I use as the primary. You can use the chatterbox. You can use any SMG that you want, really. The Grudge. Lady Death is very, very good though. If you want to use this yourself, you just got to farm for this in New York. You can get it from the named bosses in New York. I believe it's also added to the open loot pool now though, so you can farm for it through targeted loot SMG as well, or exotic caches. The secondary, I just use an ACR in case I ever need anything at range, but any secondary that you want really, any sidearm that you want really. Again, I've gone with the TDI card custom. But the Hunter's Fury build looks like this. We've got a Hunter's Fury mask with weapon damage, crit damage, and a crit damage mod. Gloves with weapon damage, crit damage. Knees with weapon damage, crit damage. And holster with weapon damage, crit damage. Have a quick look at the gear set. For 2 of these pieces, we're getting 15% shotgun damage and 15% SMG damage. 3 pieces is 20% armor on kill and 100% health on kill. And 4 pieces is the Apex Predator talent, where enemies within 15 meters receive a debuff, amplifying your weapon damage against them by 20%. Killing a debuffed enemy with your weapon disorients other enemies within 5 meters and amplifies weapon damage by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. It's super, super good. And you kind of like with this playstyle, you want to get used to the mission that you're doing and just really camp those spawn points, and you just kill them before they even spawn. It's so much fun. The chest piece I've got as a Sokolov chest piece. For 1 piece of this, I'm getting 10% SMG damage. I want weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage as the attributes, a 12% critical hit damage mod, and obliterate as the talent, where critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 5 seconds, stacks up to 25 times. The backpack, I was using the Memento exotic backpack. I've recently changed this to a Sokolov backpack to give it a go, and I haven't done it yet. But the Memento backpack, if you want to use that, farm targeted loot backpacks, gives you a skill tier, an armor core, and weapon damage, a bit of survivability, and it basically drops trophies that buffs your weapon damage, armor, and skill. Basically your skills. It's very, very good. It just wasn't really my playstyle. I noticed I was never picking up the trophies, so you can farm for that if you want, or go over Sokolov like I have now. Second piece is giving me 15% crit damage, and I've got weapon damage, crit chance on it with a 12% crit damage mod and adrenaline rush. I was thinking I'd want for like more heroic content. If I wanted to do that, I want the survivability of adrenaline rush. Whenever I'm within 10 meters of an enemy, I gain 20% bonus armor for 5 seconds and stacks up to 3 times for a 5-second cooldown. So that's the Hunter's Fury build. People normally run it with a shield and a revive hive, so you can as well, but run it with whatever skills that you want. And the stats look like this. It's 53% critical hit chance, 170.7% critical hit damage. And that is it for this video. I just wanted to share a few of those builds because I was asked the question, as I said at the start of the video, some builds for beginner players, you know, if you're new to the game. I'd say those builds are definitely a good focus point as you reach level 40 in Endgame. You put those builds together, there's a ton of content you can do with it. In fact, you could do all the content on this game with those builds with the right team. Raids, legendaries, some solo play, countdown, summit, open world. They are very, very good builds to have in your arsenal, and it gives you a good stepping stone then to kind of like practice with some content and go and grind for some more builds. You know, watch videos. It's the best suggestion I got really at this point. Once you've got a couple of builds together in Endgame, just go and watch some build videos of other builds. Look at more videos. We have like raid guides where we tell you every single build we use in a raid, or legendary guides where we tell you every build we use in legendaries. And if you've got a group of friends, you could work on them together to then practice that content. But with the builds I've shown you today, if you do jump in with anybody in our community for legendary content or raid content, they are going to do you just fine. So I hope this video has been helpful. For the people that requested this, let me know if it's exactly what you wanted. I hope it was. Don't forget to hit like and share in the video to support it. Subscribe to support the channel. I'd appreciate it. And now we are done, come and check out that community. It's linked at the top of the video description. Until next time, thank you for watching. Stay safe and peace out.